I'd like to call to order the April meeting of the Bryan City Schools Board of Education. I'd like to begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could begin with call roll, Rob.
Emily Ebaugh.
Here.
Cinder Keeler.
Here.
Tom Lingvai.
Here.
Brian Miller.
Here.
Glenn Newcomer.
Here.
Thank you.
Everyone should have before them or have had a chance to review the March regularly scheduled and the March and April special board meetings. Any questions about those minutes as they're presented? If not, accept the motion.
So moved.
Tom?
Second.
Glenn?
Cindra.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
I'm not aware of any public participation this evening. So if we would like to move on with communications report and Fort County Career Center's report from Sandra, please.
I will have a better report next month. We haven't met this month. They're still putting together the list of students that will be moving on in their respective clubs.
Okay.
So there's been a few Bryan students that have competed. So look forward to being able to announce who those are next month. And there's still time to sign up for the fun summer classes that are available at Fort County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also have here an update on the Career Clarity Grant.
Yes, we
Maybe.
sorry. Yeah, we applied for and received a grant from Fort County. We received just over $3,600 from them to apply for. They wanted it to be for career exploration, basically, and we actually are offering a career exploration course for our 7th graders beginning next school year. So they're going to help fund the curriculum for that course. We're also looking for money to, well, we had the CEO Wednesday event, and they helped a little bit of money paid for that event as well. And then we have another chunk of the money that's gonna just help with us. Let's see, the 3 things are the career exploration, the CEO Wednesday, and the career passports. So whatever you utilize those. So it's nice to have the funding, especially for the course. We actually met with Mr. Wright, who's gonna be teaching the course, and it's really helping that curriculum get jump-started, so. Yeah.
I do want to say I was fortunate enough to have participated in the CEO Wednesday event, and the feedback I've received from the community, from the members who participated, from everyone was outstanding, Mark. And I think that the students deserve, and the teachers and everybody deserve a high level of commendation for that. I was really impressed with that they all took it seriously. They were all very well prepared. I thought it was an excellent event, and I was glad to see us do that and receive such great feedback from within the community and the students.
And the students also, a lot of them have expressed gratitude through me to all of those who were able to help participate in that. They said the experience was extremely beneficial, and they really just expressed their thank you for your time and really sincerity throughout the whole event to make it worthwhile. So,
Thank you. I look forward to hopefully seeing that same event again next year. Treasurer's report, Rob.
Thank you. We'll start with the financial reports for the month ended March 31, 2016. At Farmers and Merchants State Bank, our fund balance was $16,716,688. Outstanding checks and adjustments, $58,602. Investments at Star Ohio, $3,237,037. At Morgan Stanley, $30,182,987. And at the State Bank, $4,013,226. Petty cash and change funds totaled $7,750. Total funds on hand at the end of March 2016, $54,099,086. Of those funds, our general fund balance was $12,643,510. Our bond retirement fund, $1,117,293. Our permanent improvement fund, $2,683,966. Our local funded initiative for the construction project totaled $2,863,017. Our Local share of the project fund was $25,953,663, and the state share of the project fund, $8,051,938. Once again, total funds on hand at the end of March, $54,099,086. Any questions regarding those reports? If not, we'll move on to the SM2 report, where we compare our budget to actual. Our revenues at the end of March were $303,500 in excess of budget, and our expenditures were $396,462 under budget, so we have a positive variance through March of $699,962. Any questions regarding that report? If not, we'll look at amended appropriations. Our appropriation totals at the end of March, $26,701,591. Changes during the month included increase to food service fund, $4,734. District managed activities increases of $12,874. Permanent improvement fund an increase of $28,321. The building project LFI fund an increase of $36,648. Construction funds, state and local share increase of $675,790. OHS tournament fund an increase of $3,562, and student activity funds increases of $25,528. Total increases for the month $787,457. Any questions regarding the amended appropriations? If not, we'll move on. Our next request is asking board authorization to purchase 2 78-passenger buses for the exhibit that's attached. These buses were bid through Meta, our purchasing consortium. We're going to purchase them from Cardinal Bus Sales and Service. The cost per bus is $80,339 for a total of $160,678. Any questions regarding the bus purchase? If not, next request would be to establish a student activities fund for the class of 2022 for this next school year, fund number 200-967S. And finally, we'd like to review some donations we received during the month from the Academic Booster Club for assemblies. A total of $2,750 was donated to, that was divided up between our buildings. And Dean and Mary Grove made their annual donation to the Cy Daily Scholarship of $250. We thank those organizations and individuals for those generous donations to our district. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Rob. Any questions on? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Also, go ahead. I'll second.
Emily, second, Cindra. Thank you, Cindra.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Old business construction update?
Yes, thank you very much. So, want to give the update from our Rudolph Libby construction managers. According to the report, activities to be started or finished in the next 2 weeks, and that time period runs from April 1st to April 23rd. So, because we received these throughout the month, most of these activities should just be finishing up. We have some in-wall plumbing rough-in for the east locker room should be completed. The storm drain, water lines, and gas piping in building 3, which again would be the locker room area. The elevator materials were delivered and installation is close to being finished. Casework installation continues on the first floor of the academic wing, and some of that's the cabinetry and some of the science furniture and lab materials. Painting started in the gym and will continue next week. That looks good as well. I was in to see that late last week. Overhead conduit continues on the second floor and wiring has started. Lighting fixtures and outlets are being installed on the first floor. Gym equipment was delivered April 6th. Installation will be started on Tuesday, April 12th. The exterior wall foam insulator will be back on site next week. There's about 2 weeks of work left with the foam insulation. The landscape walls started in the courtyard and will finish through or continue through next week. The ceiling grid, mostly wall mold and wires, started on the second floor this week. And then looking ahead a little bit, the terrazzo is progressing. They're near the office area right now. The brick veneer continues on building 1. The brick cleaning continues in all areas that are ready. The window installation continues in the academic wing. The painting continues in the academic wing on the first and second floors. And the installation of HVAC piping and ductwork continues as well. So the courtyard is really starting to take shape. That's probably one of the most significant changes. We're seeing the different levels. The masonry block is installed, or not masonry block, but the block is installed for the planters, and you're starting to see some real definition in that area. And then I'll also take comments from Rob or Tom or Glenn or anyone who's been through the building, or I'll answer any questions that you might have as well.
Don't fight. Don't both fight to comment.
He goes through it all more often than I do.
Well, as much as what Diane has just read from the construction manager's report, I mean, there has been significant, progress throughout the entire building. The 2 locker rooms are probably the 2 areas where the most work needs to be done. The west locker room being all of the interior masonry, the east locker room, probably I think it might have about half of the masonry done in it. And then obviously the event entrance has to be started, which that will begin as soon as we get where we can remove the large equipment out of the courtyard area.
How close do you think you are to that?
End of the week, probably. But the rest of the building, as you walk through, I mean, you can actually, I mean, it's, we're to that point where it's starting to take on a finished look. And it's interesting. I've always found it interesting walking through a building. Those areas where they obviously got the early start are well along, and then you can continue on through the building till you get to points where they, are still in some of the early phases of starting to wind it up. And it just from day to day, week to week now, there's a noticeable movement of the level of finish that has been attained in all of the areas. Quite frankly, there are some areas that if you put the carpet down and drop the ceiling tile in, the rooms would be done. Mm-hmm. So it is, you get to a certain point and it can finish up real fast, and we're fast getting to that point in the academic portion of the building. So there's still challenges. I mean, the weather obviously is going to become less of an issue. I see they have been doing the roofing on the west end of the building now. And after that is completed, the only portion that is left is the event entrance area to be roofed. They've been putting the cap on all the parapet walls, so that basically terminates all the roofing, and it eliminates any possibility of moisture getting in and under the roof and into the building. So we really are getting close to the point where a lot of the various sections of the building will be approaching completion in a very short time frame.
And from a visible point, the scaffolding is up where they're starting to construct some of the towers.
That's right, the two towers on the front of the building, and then the one over the event entrance. I think I heard at one time they were talking like 2 weeks per tower, or maybe a little bit more than 2 weeks per tower, because they have to put up the block, and then they got to come back and put the brick veneer on. Plus the window treatment that goes in those takes a little bit, and plus there's a little bit of work in the roof area. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it take probably a month on each of those. But while they're working on that, the rest of the building below it is, continuing on. And they obviously, as you have seen through the months, they got those sealed off with temporary, closures from keeping the elements out of the remaining portion of the building. So it's getting closer, a lot closer.
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly tell through Tom's comments that it's a complicated but very well orchestrated process. And my hat's off to all of the contractors working on site, because that orchestrated conduct working together, it's really truly amazing to watch the process work. From middle of April from now till August, and we have 3.5 months. And it's 3.5 months since the first of the year. And I look at the progress that's been made on that building since the first of the year till now. And we we see, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's really great to see the progress that's being made. And as Tom said, the final touches are definitely being put on.
Within the next month, you'll actually start to see them start to, grade around the building and establish the sidewalks and start working on the curbing and stuff out in front of the main facade of the building.
See, they have the lights up now.
Pardon?
They have the lights.
Yeah, some of those have been up. They're
Yeah.
adding more. I think
Yeah.
they're starting to fire them up.
Yep.
They are, I'm not aware of the fact that they've been turned on. But, yeah, it is, you will start, it's gonna truly start taking shape outside. It won't look like a construction site for, that much longer.
It's amazing to think that in a little over 3 months, we're gonna get the keys to this thing and start moving in and getting settled in the not too distant future holding classes there.
That's right.
So, thank you everybody for those updates. Any other questions? Thanks Tom, thanks Glenn, thanks Diana, thanks Rob for all the hard work and effort you guys have all put into making sure this project continues to progress on time and on budget. So, thank you. That wraps up old business. There's nothing really in new business right now, so superintendent's recommendations.
Yes, and I will start by saying, let's go ahead and move the school calendar discussion out of these approvals, and then
Oh,
we'll
okay.
add that back in, and then the board can, we can just kind of proceed from there.
Okay.
So for the administrative recommendations this month, first of all, we want to start out with our workbook and supply fees for the 2016-17 school year. As you just mentioned, it's getting very close to the start of school, so we need to start preparing for next year. These fees will remain the same as they were for the last few years. Preschool tuition for typical students will be $75 per month. The fee for kindergarten through grade 8 will remain at $50, and the fee for grades 9 through 12 at $110. You have in your packet of Bryan Golden Bears season ticket order form. This was submitted by Eric Roofer for your approval. There is a slight increase to some, but not all, of the season tickets. And again, we ask for board's approval of those pricing. You have also in your packet a contract with the Williams County Juvenile Court for approval of attendance officer service agreement. We partially fund a county attendance officer. The court partially funds, and all 7 school districts contribute to the salary of this attendance officer. So our portion is based on our student enrollment, and it is at the same level as we previously paid last year. We'd like to designate May 2nd to 6th as Employee Recognition Week, and we will be deciding on a day to visit with our employees and recognize their outstanding efforts for the year. We have a graduation. Unfortunately, he was unable to attend, but we would like to approve the graduation of Cody Sizemore, as he has met all requirements of the state of Ohio in Bryan City Schools effective March 25th, 2016. So we'd like to congratulate Cody and his family for his success and wish him the best in the future. And then finally, in this group, we'd like to approve contracts with the Northwest Ohio Educational Service Center for the 16-17 school year. These are all at the same level as served last year. We contract with them for hearing handicap services, physical therapist services, attendance services, legal retainer services, severe behavior handicap services, participation in the independent school as needed, the mentor program, and gifted supervisor services. Any questions regarding any of those proposals?
I appreciate your flexibility in allowing us a few minutes to also continue to discuss the school calendar for next year.
Not a
Thanks,
problem.
Diana. Any questions? If not, I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Tom, thank you.
Second.
Emily first.
Okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
Ryan,
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when we talk about the school calendar, we'll go ahead and insert it here in its own area. You have before you two handouts. At the bottom of the handouts, one is labeled C1 and the second is labeled C2.
Jim Moore.
It's underneath your laptop.
Ah,
Thank you. Okay, sorry.
that's all right.
So first of all, please understand that we have distributed these calendars to our staff for input. We put out a survey to our staff for input. And I'm going to go over the two proposals in detail and answer any questions that the board may have. I'm going to start with version C1 because this is the version that most closely resembles what our starting point was. So we've said all along that our critical point was to find out where the building was in March and then to make a determination about the school calendar moving forward. As we reported, there's much progress being made in the building. And at that March meeting, Rudolph Libby, the state, we all agreed that for 95% of the building, we feel really confident that we will finish on time. The area of concern is the event entrance that Tom mentioned. The event entrance is still open because we're using it to bring in large machinery into the courtyard. We expect that that will start taking shape sometime this week, no later than the end of the month. That could impact our ending date in just that area, not as far as occupancy, but just in that area by about a week to 2 weeks. So in knowing that, we want to have a start date that will allow for the most cushion possible moving forward. So in order to do that, you will notice that we have 4 staff work days scheduled for September 6th to September 9th. How we got those 4 days is we always have 2 staff work days at the beginning of the year. And then typically in the past few years, we've had fall and winter in-service days. We pulled all of those days and put them at the beginning, knowing that our teachers and staff are going to need some time for training, for professional development, and just to get things settled into the new building. Students would then we still don't want to interfere with the Williams County Fair Day. So students' first day of school would be September 13th. This truly is the latest start date that I believe that we can have. So we've taken it as far back as we can push it. Students would then be in session all the way up to Thanksgiving. Based on feedback from our staff, we moved the 2 parent-teacher conference waiver days to the December Christmas holiday break. So there would be 3 days of vacation for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then the winter break would start on December 22nd and go through January 1st. Students would return to school on January 1st. We would, on January 2nd, thank you. We would keep the teacher workday in January. That is a contractual day with our teachers union. We would keep the workday, teacher in-service days on February 10th and 13th, and we'll come back to those in a few minutes. This calendar does show a week-long spring break in March, from March 20th to March 24th. Easter is very late in 2017. Good Friday is on April 14th. We'll come back to that. And then Memorial Day on May 29th. And on this calendar, the students' last day with no weather issues would be June 9th. And then the teacher's last day would be June 13th. Now, what happens if we have weather, just like we have for the past 3 to 4 years? We would use what we implemented this school year, which are our contingency days. Today was actually a contingency day for our students. It was originally scheduled as a day off for teachers to have meetings and in-service, but because of the bad winter, students were here today. So we would build in 5 contingency days once again for our students. Those would include February 10th, February 13th, April 14th, which is Good Friday, but again, that would only be a contingency day, June 12th, and June 13th. So in this calendar, if we have really bad weather, it is possible that students would be in session until June 13th. Graduation will have to be held on June 11th, again because of laws that govern when seniors can be released. Now, before I answer questions, I want to compare that to Calendar 2, because Calendar 2 incorporates one added, in my opinion, benefit. So probably one of the biggest discussion points still has been whether or not we'll have a spring break. And as you saw on calendar version 1, if we take a spring break, we have a very long time that we go into June that follows testing. In my opinion, the more beneficial calendar, the better ways to use our days are to have more education take place before testing than after testing. So the beginning of this calendar 2 starts out the exact same way until you get to March. Then there is no week off in March. And we would allow the students to have that additional week to prepare. And in fact, that additional week is one of the weeks of high school OGT testing, if we have any students still OGT. And instead, we would take a mini spring break in conjunction with Easter. Students and staff would have April 13th, the Thursday, the Good Friday, and the Monday after, and we would lock those in. In other words, we would not, even if we had bad weather, we would not use those as makeup days. Our contingency days in this calendar would be February 10th, February 13th, June 7th, 8th, and 9th. In this calendar, the student's last day would be June 6th, and the latest possible day for contingency would be June 9th. It gets us out not quite a week earlier, but it does shorten that last week. And again, as I pointed out, gives us more time before testing happens.
And graduation would be what day?
Graduation would still have to be June 11th, again, because of the chance that we would have to be in school that full week. We can only release seniors for 3 days total. So we would have to still do graduation on June 11th. So at this time, I will entertain questions from the board about either version. Feel free to ask questions of the administrators. They have copies as well. Thoughts?
When does testing actually occur? When does state testing actually occur? Did you say it's the end of April?
It starts in
begins.
April. I don't have the exact dates. Chad, do you know? Chad's gonna pull that up for us.
Okay.
I do know they're in April.
Okay.
My concern with going so late into June is that kids are gonna play sports and they're gonna be up till 10 o'clock at night, and those last days are gonna be not very productive if we go far into June.
I would agree with you. Kids are playing sports now and they're up till 10 or 11 at night. So I wouldn't necessarily pinpoint that as one main culprit because we have that going on all year. But I would totally agree with you that the
Okay,
later
summer
we go in
productive.
June, it's a different mentality. The days are longer. People do stay up later. It's a different mindset. And it worries me. It has always worried me.
My big concern, and I know even as a business person, I get susceptible to just the grind of no breaks or no time off sometimes. And, I'm looking at, I think we're going to start the school year and we're going to go all the way to Thanksgiving without any time off. And I understand that. But then we get into February and really then we're going to go on Christmas break and we're going to get a day off, a couple days in February, a day off in January. But if we have no spring break, you're going to get 3 days in April. And that's a long stretch, especially for kids. Is there any concern with that?
Actually, even the staff, as long as there was some type of break, so they felt even if we could take that break at Easter versus no break at all, they did express some concern about that, about having that little bit of spring fever. and needing an opportunity to have something to look forward to. But just like we did this year, we combined spring break with Easter, and it seemed to work. I know it was a little earlier this year, but that was their main concern. If we were to remove spring break altogether, could we take some additional days at Easter to create that something to look forward to?
Testing window for next year's English language arts is March 13th through April 14th. Now that seems like a long window, but sometimes they break that down for online and paper pencil. They haven't broken that down yet. And then math, science, and social studies is April 3rd through May 12th.
Between the two options, I really like the looks of C2. I do think that for this next year, it's important, as you pointed to, the benefit of having those education hours before testing would benefit the students the most. It would also get the students out earlier in the summertime, because the later we go into June, I really don't feel that those are productive educational hours. And I don't think most people would complain if they had at least a somewhat of a shortened, or at least had a break around Easter time. Between the two, to me, it's clearly most beneficial on C2.
What's the feedback you're getting from the staff about the two? Which one are they expressing a preference to?
I met with both unions over the past 2 weeks, and what I shared with them was C1. And again, they expressed the concern of whether or not we were going to have a spring break. And if we didn't have a spring break, could we take additional days at Easter? So what I did, based on their most latest feedback, is I created C2. And in sharing it, not in whole, but in just casual conversations, they were much appreciative of listening to that. There are certainly still those individuals, whether it be community members or staff members, that would love to have a week off in March. But the survey that was actually filled out by staff was about a 50-50 split. There are many families who don't go anywhere and would like to just stay in school, and there are those families that do choose to go away for a week and would like to stay. The biggest question, Tom, was if we change it this year, is it gone forever? And what I told them is no, that this is just a calendar for 1 year, and that next year, if we want to bring back a spring break, we certainly can do that.
Yeah, I would hope we only build a school once.
Yes.
Is there any chance that construction would delay the entry past September 13th?
I would say there is always a chance, because you still have materials and, we're still in that construction
We have
phase.
a plan B for that?
We do have a plan B. The construction company has agreed to delay the demolition of the middle school until August, until we know for sure that we're going to be in. So our plan B is, if we cannot be in the new building on September 6th, then we will be, 6 to 12 will be hosted in the current middle school until it's ready.
Any other questions? Do we want to take time to continue to review these and think about it?
I think it would also be beneficial, the sooner we make a decision, then, people can make plans, or not make plans in the case of a spring break. But I think you've put a lot of thought into this, clearly, and obviously by not having students starting until the 13th of September, that is substantially later than normal. But yet, if we could still achieve having the final day being that early in June, I think we've consolidated about as much as we can, and I think that would be, again, the most beneficial for students and the community.
Hearing sooner rather than later, they're gonna have a longer summer this year. I think a lot of people are happy.
Yeah, there are
A lot of
trade-offs,
kids.
there aren't there?
There are
Right.
Yeah,
trade-offs.
they have a longer summer.
They have a longer summer this year.
Is there any
You
issue
read
with
it.
the unions? I'm sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Is there any issue with the unions if we make a decision tonight
They
whatever
are-
it is, and then need to make changes farther down the road.
I would tell you the unions are waiting with bated breath for this
But I'm
to be
saying, so we
approved.
make a decision today, if there's some event that necessitates a change, how much issue is there with the unions at that moment?
I would have to believe that they would understand we're in a construction mode. If you wanted to approve it on the condition of construction being completed, I think
I'd
that
be
they
more
would
comfortable with that.
I think that they would understand that. They've been involved in the process the whole way through, and they have been told repeatedly it does depend on the construction of the building.
So you gave us two options. What's your recommendation?
I have said many times that I really don't have a preference, but I have to tell you, the more and more that I think about the benefits of C2, I think that that addresses the majority of the concerns and questions, and it makes me feel more comfortable because, like I said, we're front-loading as much as possible before the testing instead of after the testing.
I would agree with that.
Rob, with the fiscal year end being June 30, is there any impact to you on us doing that, or we get
No issue.
payroll or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
The only issue that I would have is starting late. The super, or the contracts for the teachers, we're on a 26 pay cycle per year, or bi-weekly pay cycle, and actually the teachers won't start doing their work, they're coming into work until September, but their 26 pay cycle for the previous contract will end back in August. So we might have to get some kind of a board resolution that would allow us to, quote, prepay, even though they're not here working. And I've talked to the auditor of state about it, and he says it's fine to do this, just have some kind of board approval, because it's just a one-year hiccup because of construction, and we'll just explain it and pass a resolution to say, we understand this is gonna happen, and we'll make these moves accordingly.
Tell me again what the normal starting pay date would be for staff.
It's around the fourth Friday in August usually is when the first
So
contract payment is on the new contracts for teachers.
So it may be like a
So like-
one pay
Like
period?
maybe 1.5 pay periods. And the auditor of state, like I said, I ran this past Doug Zimmerman at the auditor of state. He says, we've seen this before, as long as the board passes some kind of resolution to say we understand this is happening.
There'd be
we're
no
prepaying.
interruption to pay for the existing teachers.
Yeah, that way there's no interruption of pay for anybody, and I think that's the correct way to go.
And both of these schedules have would have that same kind of
Correct.
That's correct.
issue. And in theory, at the end of the day, they're still working the same number of days, correct?
184 days is just right. They aren't starting their contract the normal time.
Yeah.
Yes, I should point out, in both calendars, there are 184 teacher work days and 180 student days.
Mark, Chad, Scott, any feedback you'd like to share?
I know
with us?
this isn't on the back end, but the front end, one of the things that I guess we're thrilled about if this goes through this way is on the front end of the calendar is the time for staff to be trained at the beginning of the school year, before work days. We know there's gonna be a ton of new items, a ton of new equipment. and-
Especially for you, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need a lot of time at the beginning of the school year, so we're thrilled about that. I know this addresses another major concern too with the teachers, and that is having a few days before the Christmas holiday. And again, I know those aren't on the backside that we're discussing here, but those were two needs, I guess, met with all parties, so we're really thrilled if that goes through that way.
I look on the back end as well, thinking back as a senior in high school, which was a while ago, but when I graduate, I need to get out and get some summer employment
Yeah.
to get ready for college, and the quicker I could get out, the more jobs maybe are available to me. And to be honest, it's a week longer I can work and collect a paycheck to help me, so I think that's a real benefit too for our seniors, get them out, get them in the workforce, and whether they're, pursuing secondary education or just going into the workforce, that's an extra week for them.
Scott, anything to add?
Yeah, I would echo with Mark with the days at the beginning, just to kind of get things settled in the building. Everybody's moving with the exception of Washington and preschool, so that's gonna be important, and plus the training part. Spring break is gonna be, some are definitely gonna miss that, and they still might go anyways. So I guess we need to have a plan in place for those students that missed that week of testing. Just make sure they can get that made up when they come back, but it's gonna be a minority group than the majority, so.
guess, having heard what sounds like a lot of support for the C2 schedule,
That would be the one that I would be in favor of, I guess, as I see it in the reasoning behind going that direction.
Ready for a motion?
yeah, I'd be willing to accept the motion.
I would move that we accept calendar labeled C2
Second,
And
Glenn?
Can we clarify though, Emily, you wanted
with
to
the
include?
contingency that any construction
Construction
delays,
delays.
leave that open for additional discussion.
Let's have positive thoughts, Emily.
Oh, I'm thinking positive.
I just wanna make sure that
I
contingency is in
appreciate,
there
yeah,
for
so
you.
make sure that's in the notes, Rob.
Them negative vibes will get you no place.
No. Motion by Emily. Rob, you need a minute to jot that down. I'll give you all the time you need. Tell me when you're ready.
Go.
Motion by Emily, seconded by Glenn.
Okay. You ready?
Yep.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
Cindra.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and.
Thanks for being flexible on that too, on the agenda and the time.
Yep, on behalf of the unions, I can share that I think that they will be excited just to have this
Yeah.
known.
No, they will.
So, now, based on that board's decision, just for the community and for the staff, we will finalize this calendar and get it published as soon as possible so that families can start getting informed about dates for next year.
Thank you, Diana.
Yep. Finally, we have some construction items to take care of this evening. First of all, you have an exhibit showing a resolution acknowledging the OFCC scope of work adjustment and amendment to agreement. This scope of work adjustment is something we've kind of been sitting on since the beginning of the project. One of the budget line items for this construction project is called for swing space. Swing space is money that you can use to purchase mobile classrooms and or maybe rent facilities to allow your students to swing into while construction is going on. One of the first plans that we put in place was utilizing our own buildings for that swing space. So again, we're going to utilize the old high school as a swing space for the grades 2 to 5 for next year. We're going to keep the students at Washington. We're going to keep the students at the preschool. Because we're utilizing our own buildings with some minor updates that may need to be made for restrooms and other items, we're going to take care of those. So the amendment to the agreement is so that we can release that budget line item back into the project to be used for other areas. We only get to release our 65%. We don't get the full budget item. The state takes back their 35% share. Questions on that resolution first?
Rob, what about the moving expenses? What area does that come out of, the moving or?
They won't
renovation?
pay for
They won't.
moving
They're not paying for
expenses.
one darn dime.
No,
No.
They'd pay for us to rent a trailer.
for a
They won't-
classroom, but
right.
yeah, no, they
but
won't pay for
us to
moving.
move.
So this
Because
is,
we're being reasonable and,
this is a reduction
Approval.
to the OFCC agreement in the amount of $572,040. The local share of that 65%, as Diana said, or $371,826. State share is $200,204.
it's still fiscally responsible to do it that way. but One more annoyance.
Okay, and then next we have approval of the GMP 5 for the 6 to 12. GMP 5 included lines and bids for landscaping, technology, and furniture. And this is the final GMP for the 6 to 12 project. And Rob, do you have numbers on that one?
No, I don't.
Okay. You were so
Sorry.
quick on the other one, I thought. Questions on that GMP?
I'll just take a look at.
Everything will have been bid out at this point in time with this GMP.
For the 6 to 12 building,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know whether they had anything hanging yet.
No, this will be the last one for the 6 to
And
12
that's the
building.
final landscaping, technology, furniture.
Yes.
the very last.
Right.
How many GMPs for that building did we end up doing?
5.
4.
4 for that building.
4
and
for
one-
that building and 1 for the,
Oh,
over
okay.
there.
Yeah, for the middle school.
GMP 4 was for the middle school.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Any other questions? Willing to accept a motion?
So moved.
Tom, thank you.
I'll second.
Cindra? A second.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into commendations, we have finished our third quarter, so we have our third quarter all A honor roll for our 9 through 12 students. We have our OMEA choir large ensemble contest results. A cappella was at Superior, men's choir at Excellent, and women's choir at Good. We have Kiwanis Students of the Month, Madison Stockman and Olivia Tusco. We have 4 County Career Center National Technical Honor Society members, Carly Boylan, Trey Lloyd, and Kennedy Nicolin. Our Students of Action, and then also our artists. We have our Ohio Governor's Youth Art Exhibit, which just happened this past weekend. We have many students that were accepted into that show. And then we're excited that David Rummel has received the 2016 BGSU School of Art Governor's Award and Scholarship. So congratulations to all of those students. At the middle school, we have our All A honor roll for grades 6 through 8. We also have our Students of Action and Ike's Top Dogs for forgiveness. At Lincoln and Washington, we recognize our forgiveness character trait, and we also recognize our PE Gold Slip winners, Jaden Crow, Cole Carlin, and Eleanor Ford. Those are our commendations for this month.
Also move to accept the superintendent's accommodations
Second.
for the month.
Cindra, thank you. Glenn, thank you.
Tom,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
thank you.
Under personnel recommendations, we would like to recommend a 1-year limited teaching contract for the 16-17 school year to Victoria Warehe, grade 5 intervention specialist, 0 years experience, bachelor's level on the A1 salary schedule. Victoria is a brand new teacher and she comes to us from where, Scott?
BGSU.
Okay.
Go to our hometown, which is from BG.
Okay, awesome. Great recommendations and excellent references on Victoria. Teacher transfer effective for next school year, Lene Arps to grade 4 intervention. St. Patrick's School would like to recommend auxiliary services personnel for next year, Nicole Manahan as full-time intervention specialist at 100% base salary, and Stephanie Lamore as auxiliary services personnel clerk, 2 hours per day for 90 days of the school year. It is time for teacher contract renewals overall. We would like to offer another 1-year contract to Todd Grosjean. This would be a 1-year limited teaching contract. 2-year contracts are listed, 3-year contracts, 4-year limited teaching contract to Melanie Reinhardt, 5-year limited teaching contract to Colette Schrader and Holly Norman, continuing teaching contracts to Britton Bosco and Nikki Malenga. We are going to go ahead and approve some substitutes because we're going to use them for the remainder of the school year. Georgetta Kuhlman, Scott Hyland, and Chelsea Miller as teacher substitutes. But then, as an annual action, we're going to go ahead and non-renew our substitute teachers for this school year. And those represent, again, just an annual action of non-renewal. And so we will approve to hire and non-renew all in the same month, but it typically happens at this time in the year as we're working to get some new subs. Any questions over the personnel recommendations?
I noticed that the 3 that we're adding as substitutes are not on the non-renew list. Is that something we'll have
Yes,
to
they
use?
They are.
Oh, are they? I didn't see them. Oh, they are at the very end. I'm sorry. I was
Yes.
looking through alphabetically and didn't see them. I'm sorry.
Yes, they should all be on there.
I will move to.
Chelsea Miller's not on there?
Yeah, let's add Chelsea Miller. It might have gotten cut off to include her in the non-renewals.
Thank you. And
I'll
Glenn,
move to accept the personnel recommendations listed so far.
thank you, Glenn.
Second?
Emily, thank you.
Ryan,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
thank you.
We have a non-renewal of substitute teacher and newcomer for this school year.
So moved.
Emily, thank you.
I'll second it. Okay, go ahead.
Cindra, with the second. Thank you.
Glenn,
Abstain.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
And then, non-renewal of substitute teacher for this school year, Claudia Miller.
So moved.
Second.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ryan,
Abstain.
Glenn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Under board policy updates, these board policy updates were provided by Neola. These are not required of a vote right now. I'll just answer any questions that you may have, and those were provided to you in a separate attachment. Also, I passed out a colored sheet labeled with some form numbers at the top. We would like to add these in for consideration, again, not to vote on tonight, but to add into this exhibit. It has come to our attention that when it's dealing with fundraisers, we are utilizing two forms that are not in the board-approved handbook. So what we would like to do, these are the forms that we are currently using. These are the forms that Mr. Rossworm would prefer to use in tracking fundraiser information. And so therefore, we would like to next month approve these forms and replace the current ones that we are not using. So, just want to bring that to your attention. Any questions on any of those policies? Okay, if not, moving on, I just have a couple of announcements. First of all, tomorrow morning, we will be hosting our spring visioning update. And a change that we made is we have invited anyone in the community to attend. We've advertised through the help of the Bryan Times, through social media, through our school website. We're hoping to have a good showing of community members that want to come in and hear about what's going on in getting ready to build our new educational future. So that meeting is going to take place at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow at Wesley United Methodist Church in the Fellowship Hall. And Mr. Howard and Mr. Rary have put together the agenda. We'll have teachers presenting and updates. We even have a video of the construction site to date. And Mr. Bassett is going to host the event for me. So again, just want to remind the board of that event tomorrow morning, and I want to invite the community. So if we can just put one more plug in on our story, that would be great. Questions other than board meeting dates? We have our next meeting on May 16th. LPDC meeting is to be determined, and our next business advisory meeting is June 14th. We are set to hold a records commission meeting before the next board meeting. We'll keep you posted on whether or not there are any records to dispose of. So questions from the board or other discussion items? Okay, Mr. Roofer had to attend an athletic event tonight, so he apologizes he could not split his time. So we'll turn it over to Mr. Bassett.
Good evening. It seems like every time I stand up, we talk a little bit about testing. So, we're in the middle of it. Kicking off, we'll say the middle school, 3rd grade was doing some math testing today as well, or tomorrow. Math testing, 3rd grade tomorrow. 6th grade was testing today and some math. Online, we've been fine. It's always a concern when you're plugging in computers. First day, there's always kind of those first day hiccups, I'll call it. You get through them, you learn from them, and the next day it goes very, very smoothly. But overall, it's been very smooth. We also go into our next round of testing coming up starting in May, and that's our AP test for all of our kids taking advanced placement classes. This is their chance to score well on that, to receive some college credit out of those classes. Update on textbooks. Been meeting throughout the year with some textbook committees. We're looking at high school or K-5 science. We're looking at high school Spanish and 6 through 12 social studies. We have narrowed down, made some decisions, and had some quotes out for textbooks. Looking at Pearson for the science and Spanish, and McGraw-Hill Company for social studies. Biggest things that came out of all of those committees, all of our teachers were on the same page, is that the hardbound textbooks that kids have to carry home, we're trying to get away from that a little bit, especially with the one-to-one Chromebooks, and more of a classroom set, because we think there's value still in those hardbound books. Internet goes down, we don't want to interrupt class, but moving more to having the kids access the textbook online on their Chromebooks. Neat thing about it is the companies now are up to speed, like McGraw-Hill for social studies with our Chromebooks, is you don't need internet at home. There's an app for it that you can get in class. When you're in class, you can, teacher wants you to read chapter 1. You save chapter 1 basically on your desktop in this app. So I like that feature for our kids that don't have online access at home. I think that's a nice benefit for it. I think a couple months ago I talked about a 6th grade project. Where they were going to design their own menu. I've been making my rounds through 6th grade classes this week. I spoke to 2 of them. The next 2 days I'll hit the other 2 classes. It's kind of morphed into something bigger. Had an opportunity to speak to a government class. They were kind of like a special interest group, and I was the senator coming in, and they were going to persuade me on how to change things in the cafeteria. It was all law-based. About requirements. They had great questions and great feedback. And I mentioned that the 6th graders were doing this too. So Mrs. Gabriel said, hey, what a great idea. Let's take our juniors and help the 6th graders as well through this process. So they're kind of buddying up. 6th graders are going to create a menu. I've created a scenario that I need their help with some menu planning. And then they're going to send those to the juniors. And the juniors are going to look them over, make sure they meet the legal requirements, and send them back. And then of course we're going to try and produce that meal, the winning meal in our cafeteria. So I think a neat project of getting our juniors with our 6th graders. The 6th graders are going to love having a high school kid to buddy up with.
That's great. Thank you. Mr. Horde.
Hey, going off of that, I think I mentioned to you last time about the 6th grade doing our field day for 4th and 5th grade. We met with them before spring break. Mark and I met with them again. They're really getting after PBL this year because again, they pretty much planned the entire field day, and it's with their games, so games that they've made up, that they've experimented with. I'm just helping them with the supply part of it. A couple things just to bring up to speed as far as next year goes. We had our preschool meetings for our typicals. We had about 45 students that were here just last week for our screening process. We have another 8 that comes later in May, so roughly about 45 to 50 preschool typicals. We only have 36 slots. So we'll have a waiting list. Also, kindergarten screening was last Thursday and Friday. We had 102 students, plus we'll add our 30 cubs, so we're looking about a typical classroom size or class size again, somewhere between 135 and 150. So our numbers are good coming in. Step Up to Quality, again, was with the preschool. I talked about that last month. We submitted that the first week of April. So again, we're hoping we've submitted the right paperwork for a 5-star or a 4-star process. Again, we'll have the opportunity for 2 more resubmissions. Like Chad said, everybody preschool through grade 5 is either doing air assessments, diagnostic assessments, echo assessments for preschool. Everybody's doing assessments, it feels like, for April and May. And lastly, PTO Color Run, which was a huge success last year, is again May 14th. It starts in the morning. There's more information on the website. Information was sent home to the kids. Again, it's been extended to grade 8 this year, so we include more children this year. So that's all I got. Lots of great things.
Thank you. Mr. Airy.
All right, good afternoon. I feel like I'm going to repeat a lot of the things. We brought them up at some point during today's meeting. But just to recap, this past weekend we had our performance by our cast and crew and the performance of Bye Bye Birdie, so just congratulations to them if you made it out to the Arts Den to see them. It was a job well done, very entertaining, so it brought a smile to our faces. Another plug for the Community Vision meeting tomorrow morning. We are going to be discussing some of the new courses that are being offered in our new 6 to 12 building that we've been working on. We're excited to start getting the word out on these courses, so come on out and listen and hear about what those have to bring. Another thank you for our CEO Wednesday. I know I've brought this up a few times, it got rescheduled once, but it was just a phenomenal outing, really enjoyable for our students. Was just thrilled at what our community members brought to the table and had such a beneficial experience for our students. I've heard a lot of great feedback on it, and it's something that we want it to become an annual event, and that is to get our students that practice before the real world interviewing. It's a skill that we all need to have. So again, just a thank you to all the community members for making that a possibility, and we are definitely looking forward to doing that next year again. At the high school, we have not started testing yet. Testing starts tomorrow, so we're going to be testing tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. For those students not taking a test, it depends on the class you're enrolled in and the school year that you're in. If you're taking a an assessment or not. Those students will be on a 2-hour delay. And then the regular school day will start at 10 o'clock for all students tomorrow through Thursday. We do have our end of the year awards assemblies coming up in May. So we have our scholarship night May 5th and our ABC awards night coming up May 12th. There's also a lot of concerts on the horizon, so make sure you check out the dates for those. And then our 8th grade Chicago trip is right around the corner, about a month away. So they're going to be going to Chicago the dates of May 19th and 20th. So they're preparing for that and getting excited for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we do have a need to adjourn into executive session under item A, the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee, or the investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, licensee, or student. So if I could accept the motion to move into executive session.
Second.
Tom and Glenn.
Thank you. Cindra,
Yes.
Tom, Bryan,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
All right.